Welcome into another edition of the Brian Gregory Show as we take an hour out to talk men's basketball. That's the head coach right over there, Brian Gregory. I'm Jim Lighthall. Good to see you again, Coach. And it feels like every time we do this, you're fresh off an airplane, and this time you're coming in off a win, which is especially nice.
Yeah, it's always good to get a road win. We've played well on the road, 3 road wins this year in league play, and maybe our best overall offensive, not only just execution, but offensive efficiency. It was the highest number of the year. Only 7 turnovers for the game, 70% from the free throw line. Shot the ball pretty well, did some good things, and it was good to see. I think right now, after the pause that we kind of had, our offense is actually ahead of our defense right now.
Okay.
We're moving the ball better. We're getting into some random ball screens and off-ball screens, and guys are sharing the ball really well, 14 assists in that Temple game. So I've been pleased with that. I really have been pleased with that. We're feeding the post more, playing out of the post as well. So we did a lot of good things offensively. Still trying to get our traction. You know what I mean? You can still see there's times in games where I can't sub fast enough. Guys are dog tired after 2 or 3 minutes. And again, it's not just the 30 days of not playing, practicing, all those. It's also the recovery from the virus too.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's a lot of those guys didn't miss because of contact tracing. They missed because they had it.
And it affects everyone differently.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. And I've seen a couple guys. We've talked about it. Dave Collins is, he's like a machine. You know what I mean? It has had no impact on him whatsoever. Other guys it has, but I thought one of the reasons we won the game was our bench play. And we're going to, continue to play 10, 11 guys every game because I think our best chance at this point in the season with everything that we've been through is try to keep fresh guys out there and try to wear the other team down a little bit.
Well, you've played 3 games now since the pause, and as you said at the time that it was going to take you a little while to get your legs, to get back to normal, to get back in the flow, and it really felt like yesterday that was the case. I mean, you came out shooting the ball well. Then again, so did they. It looked like it was going to be an NBA game breakout the way the 2 teams were shooting, and it's tough to keep up in a game like that.
Yeah, and I thought one of the biggest things that we did was we had great responses in the second half. Every time they cut it to 1, cut it to 3, cut it to 2, we responded, either with a really good offensive possession or a defensive stop. I thought our defense was much better in the second half. But you hit the nail on the head. We're initially when you come back, you try to get the guys' conditioning up to par to be able to play in a game.
Right.
The next phase is now playing better, and I think we've taken some steps in that direction.
I watched the press conference, or the Zoom meeting, that is, of Aaron McKee after the game yesterday, and he was just shaking his head about how you guys pounded the ball inside. Had a big size advantage, obviously, with Russ and Mike Durr coming back. Their biggest player was Jake Forrester at 6'9", 225. He's given up 25, 30 pounds. But it was just unrelenting, and I thought you guys really established the post early. Mike got some shots off, didn't make them all early. But when you establish that sets the tone for the whole day.
It does. And one of the things that, we have to do better is we have to finish some of those, more of those plays around the rim. But we wanted to not only pound the ball inside, on post feeds, but we also wanted to get it into those guys on rolls, off of ball screens, and then we wanted to do a great job on the offensive glass, and I think we did all 3 of those.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit because in a game like that, especially early, I don't think the defense got enough credit. They shot a high percentage early, so did you. But then you have a 7-0 run, fueled in large part by your bench, which we'll get into because David Collins gets his second foul. But it's a 15-2 run. Coach, they don't hit a field goal for over 11 minutes, and you take the big lead. And I thought that really set the tone defensively for the rest of the game.
It did, and what it showed us is especially with those younger guys now who are starting to log some more minutes, we're much better offensively when we're getting stops because our pace was really good.
Yeah.
We had some great throw ahead for baskets. We had some great throw aheads for some kick out threes. But it was, that defensive energy that Chaplin brought, that Madut brought. I thought Castaneda obviously was tremendous offensively, but just as good on the defensive end. We were moving, and we were protecting the rim in a lot of those key situations. And I thought that not only gave us the lead in the first half, but we were able to go back to some of those things in timeouts in the second half and say, okay, this is how we're supposed to cover that, or this is what we need to do on the rotation. And we did a really good job of that.
At halftime, you have the lead, but you also have 14 more attempts than they did because they turn the ball over a lot, and you get offensive rebounds. That's the hidden part of a box score that people don't look at.
Well, you look at the stat sheet, and unfortunately there's been games where it's been reversed.
Right.
They made one more three than we did. They shot the ball better from the field than we did. They actually out-rebounded us overall by 1. But they had 17 turnovers.
Yeah.
And it was our activity on defense. So, again, as you know, sometimes numbers get skewed. So our defensive field goal percentage was not as good as it has been. It was at 44%. We want 42 or less. But we forced 17 turnovers. So they had less shots on the rim. And so again, it's our defensive efficiency overall was pretty good. If we could ever force 15 plus turnovers and keep teams under 42%, and on our offense only have 7 turnovers, we'd be pretty tough to beat.
Two key plays I thought down the stretch. One was Caleb Murphy hitting a jumper with about 50 seconds left. Makes it 69-64. He had made some buckets early. Then he was kind of scuffling a little bit throughout the course of the game. And then David Collins drawing the charge when it's 74-67. Just a huge play down low. Again, people don't look at charges taken, but that's a senior play. That's a huge play on defense, and it stopped all their momentum.
Yeah, I thought they had just hit a layup and went to a zone. And we went to one of our set actions to get into some movement. And Murphy came off the kind of the out screen of the zone and just rose up like he's been doing it and buried it. Big shot for us, no doubt about it. Really good execution. I thought our execution coming out of timeouts, our execution in critical situations was spot on. And then the defensive play by David, and it's interesting because he probably picked up 2 other offensive fouls on the ball, and they weren't called. And we had a great officiating crew, so sometimes on the ball they're not going to call as much, but this was a full body rotation off the ball when he picked up that big charge right on the left block out of a baseline out of bounds play. So both those critical down the stretch for us.
Offensively, David had 14 points in the second half. He had not scored in the first half. But you mentioned Xavier Castaneda, and Coach, I just felt like he was such a calming influence on the floor, offensively and defensively yesterday, and his jump shot is getting really lethal now, and he's a factor on offense.
Well, again, we've talked about this time and time again. He's our hardest working kid. He's in the gym all the time. He knew he had to shoot the ball better for us. And because of the time that he spent, and it's not just time, it's quality time. And to be honest with you, every day he does everything you ask him. And so it to me, I always say that the path to success is not that hard to figure out. If you want to lose weight, eat better, exercise more. If you want to shoot free throws better, shoot 200 free throws a day extra. If you want to shoot better, you got to spend an hour every day working on your shooting. Well, he's done that. And that's why he went from a 30% three-point shooter to one of the best percentage shooters in the league at over 40%. And when he rises up and shoots those, you're almost surprised when they don't go in now.
Tell me about the philosophy at the point guard spot, because Caleb Murphy right now is starting. Xavier Castaneda is one of the first guys off the bench. And then there's many, many times where we see both guys on the floor at the same time. And I know you've said this that you'd play 5 point guards if you could.
Yeah, and for us, either one, in our fast break, either one can get the outlet and go, and the other one fills the lane. Obviously, it's X is more comfortable playing either spot than Caleb is because he's got more experience. But having both those guys out there, you got guys that can create shots for themselves and create shots for other people. They're both really good on the bounce, so it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So we try to, because Caleb's only a freshman, try to play him only at one spot when we're running stuff. And X is smart enough; he can play the 5. He knows that, every offensive action from every position. But it does give us a great, luxury to have two guys out there of their caliber. You and I have talked about it. I look at X as our 6th starter. He's playing starter minutes. He's taking starter shots. You know what I mean? He's one of our best leaders. He's really growing into that, which has helped us. I have no problem, those two guys on the court quite a bit.
You win the game 83-76. You were in command of the game. Again, they pushed quite a few times in the second half, and you held off every push and then extended the lead down the stretch. X made some big free throws for you. He went 6 for 6 from the line. We thought this was a complete team win on Sunday. Everybody contributed. And then you also talked about the turnovers for Temple, but you took care of the basketball.
Yeah, that was big. And again, I thought, the guys off the bench, obviously I look at X as a starter, but you got great minutes from Russell. You got great minutes from Madut. You got great minutes from Chaplin. Prince came in and gave us good minutes in the first half. I thought that was critical for us. With Ray Sean out now, a week, maybe 2 weeks, with the lower leg injury, we our depth has been impacted, but we need those guys to step up and play well. And I think, they really did. And when we take care of the ball and move the ball like we were moving it, there's 2 things that happen, Jim. 1, we get better shots. 2, we're in better rebounding position. And you saw that a little bit in the second half. We had some critical second and third shots at the rim because of the rebounding.
Well, I thought it was a dominating performance, and I don't know if the final score reflected how well you guys played, but 83-76, you'll take it every time.
Yeah, for us to score, if we score 83 in regulation, we're not going to lose the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think maybe the unsung heroes, you weren't there, so it was the most sterile environment that we've ever been in.
There's no fans at
There's
all.
no fans at all.
Right.
And it's almost half comical when they do the starting lineups and all the music, and there's welcome to Temple, and there's nobody
Crickets.
to welcome. You know what I mean? But we talked to our guys before the game how important it was that we had to create the energy.
Right.
And the guys who were great were Christian, Lucci, Danny, Ryan, those guys, and then Ray Sean, who wasn't, couldn't play. Those guys brought a ton of energy, and now everybody's doing it on the bench. We had the defense clap going, which I haven't seen since junior high. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it was fun. It was fun. Plus, we were playing our tail off. So, in a season where nothing has been normal and everything's a struggle and a battle, to have that juice was really good to feel and see.
Yeah, a big win for you guys on the road at Temple. You played well there. It seems like 2 or 3 years in a row. You get the win, and now they'll come back here on Wednesday. We'll talk about that dynamic coming up in just a bit. We'll take a break. The Brian Gregory Show continues in a moment. Welcome back to the Brian Gregory Show as we continue on. We've already covered the big Temple win on Sunday at the Leah Curris Center. And, Coach, you've got Temple coming up again. We'll talk about that game and a quirk in the schedule. We'll also take a look at who else is ahead for you between now and the next time we sit down. But, the Temple thing became available because of SMU, which you tipped us off in the post-game show on the radio after the UCF game, and you're like, hey, I don't think that game's going to happen. Well, at that time, Dallas was iced over. I figured this was weather-related. Find out it wasn't weather-related.
Yeah, it wasn't. And it's been hard. It's been hard. And the thing I'm disappointed at is I think our league is getting hurt by some of it. I can look you square in the eye. SMU's an NCAA tournament team.
Mm-hmm.
And because of some of our shutdowns, other people's now there, some people aren't even talking about them.
Yeah.
And it.
Is it because of the lack of non-conference, or the fact that, say, they don't get to play Wichita State twice and Houston twice, and that sort of thing,
some of that
too?
comes into it.
Yeah.
They played four or five non-conference games. They beat Dayton at Dayton. That should get you in the tournament no matter what, because I know how hard that is to do.
Yeah.
It's just it's been a challenge, and then to flip around and say, okay, we'll go to Temple on Sunday, and then they'll come here on Wednesday because they go to UCF on Saturday. I think we moved the Houston game time, we moved the Memphis game. I mean, but we have to go with the flow, and we have to be ready to compete when they say we're going to tip it up and who we're going to tip it up against.
We have John Janowski coming on in just a little bit, the director of operations, and I know it's a difficult process to get these things put together, but you don't have a lot of time. I mean, you got to make a call. He has to make a call. Your AD has to make a call, and it's got to happen fast.
It does, and we were pushing and grinding to try to get as many of the postponed games redone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's got to be on both sides. So we have to have dates, and then who we're supposed to play has to have dates. A couple of teams that we need to play against, they're on shutdown now. So I mean, it's been a challenge, and John's in his first year with us right now. And it's been a heck of a year for him, I can tell you that, And me, just being the kind, gentle soul that I am, have been able to give him the flexibility to do what he needs to do.
How hard was it to ask Temple to come to Florida for like 6 or 7 days?
No, yeah. Aaron was not upset about that decision whatsoever, because I'm telling you, it was colder than a well digger's out there, man.
Yeah.
It was cold. It was cold, and I'm used to it, but I'm not used to it anymore.
Right.
So, but the thing is, what we want to try to do is keep playing better basketball, and still fighting, as I said, for a little bit of the traction on both ends of the court. We were more consistent on the offensive end, but we've lost a little bit of the physicality and the pressure that we were able to put on in the 6 previous conference games defensively. If we were playing that defense with the improvement we've made on offense, we'd be in a really good position. So we got to keep tightening it up.
You play conference teams twice during the course of the year. That's not big news. But to turn around and play a team twice in 4 days, there's no secrets now. You haven't changed anything offensively or defensively. Do you have an advantage in this scenario when you play Temple on Wednesday? Because 2 years ago you did this with DePaul, where you played 3 games in a row against them, and the back-to-back-to-back type stuff. Does that help you?
Yeah, a little bit. We had a pretty good system in place for that 3-game swing that we made with DePaul. What you want to do is really emphasize the things that worked, and then really highlight the things that you have to do a better job of. And I think, we were able to, hopefully able to do that and make the adjustments, because you still have to make some adjustments. The one thing that is interesting, you also have to take a step back and say, okay, what are they going to do differently? Mm-hmm. What could they do differently? Are they going to have a different coverage on the ball screen, different coverage in the post? Are they going to play some more zone? Obviously one of our keys is we have to do a better job on battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing is he got, 4 free throws on the flagrant one at the end of the game, 2 free throws on David's technical to begin the game, and he made 10 free throws. So that's 6 points right there. So we just, the one thing, too, is I think, and I mentioned it with you, Aaron McKee is an NBA guy, so this is not new for him either. And they did something similar earlier in the year with SMU. They played at home and then went on the road. The way I look at it right now, whoever plays better for those 40 minutes is going to win the game. I'm not sure that game 1 is going to have that big of an impact on game 2.
You've talked about depth here during this stretch and how important it is, and you're really getting some nice play out of Russell Chiwa at the center position behind Michael Durr, who did miss a game over the last couple of weeks. But for Russ, I mean, it's 7 points, 4, 5, 6, 7 rebounds every night out. And you've talked a lot about combining the numbers at the 5 spot, which is really, really good right now, what you're getting out of the 5.
Yeah, and Russell's getting better every day. He's
it seems like things have slowed down for him a lot.
Yeah, and what's interesting, it has slowed down, but he plays a little. His movement. He's got a good feel offensively and creating some actions for other guys, knowing when to get up there and ball screen, set pin downs away. He's really good at finding space on drives. If you notice, he's got more drop-offs than maybe Mike has. He's got just a little better feel for finding open, and he can, sometimes he's in a little bit of a rush when he gets it, but he catches some of those, passes. So he's just scratching the surface. He really is. And again, with 7 additional games like he's played the last 3, where could he be right now? And all those things come into play. But yeah, he's been really good for us and has given us a big lift.
If you're going to combine the numbers at the 5, you got to combine the numbers at the 1. And we talked about Xavier Castaneda and Caleb Murphy, and right now those 2 guys are playing at a very high level.
Yeah, and maybe X probably playing his best basketball of his career here. Both, he was always so good defensively, but maybe a little inconsistent on the offensive end. But his assist numbers are up over the last few games, and obviously he's shooting the ball at a really high clip. And he's a guy, you got to have in at the end of the game to protect the league because he's going to make good decisions and he's going to make his free throws.
Mm-hmm. Those shots that he has now, and he made a couple of them against Temple, drive down parallel with the lane, and then the little step back, from about 15 feet on the baseline is becoming a real weapon right now.
Yeah, and he's a little shorty, so he's got to learn how to shoot those shots.
He gets them up in the air.
He gets them up in the air, but he feels he's comfortable. Now that, Jim, that's just hours and hours of working on it. You know what I mean? That's just that's what it is. And, the next step for him is to be a guy that is scoring between 12 and 15 every game, but also getting 5 and 6 assists every game. Now, I always say sometimes the assist total is skewed, again, because if you don't make shots, you don't get the assist. Yep. But, as everybody gets better, that's his next step, and I think he's ready for it.
Let's look down the road just a little bit. As we mentioned, you've got Temple here inside the Ingling Center on Wednesday, but then past that, the game against Houston, which was set for 4 o'clock, is now at 1 o'clock. Coach, we were watching the Houston-Cincinnati game, which was kind of going on the same time as your game was yesterday. That game flipped in a hurry. And, last year, 2 years, 3 years, that would have been a battle for the top of the league. That didn't even look like 2 teams in the same league as good as Houston was.
Yeah, and they can do that to you. They can do that to you. What they do is their defense keeps them in games, and then all of a sudden they get on an offensive spurt, and that's exactly what happened in that game. Probably the 3 best group of perimeter players in Grimes, Sasser, and Giroux. Tremendous on the glass. You got to bring your lunch pail and hard hat, shoulder pads, knee pads, elbow pads. You got to bring it all in that game. And I thought we competed well, and they went on that stretch to start the second half to kind of extend the lead. And what they do defensively, they're the best at turning defense into offense. Mm-hmm. So you got to do a great job of taking care of the basketball, and when you get good shots, you got to be ready to shoot them.
I thought Grimes has been getting a lot of attention lately, and deservedly so. He had a big game here at the Ingling Center, but Giroux was, to me, the big problem that day because he was beating people off the dribble, creating shots for others, and then you start getting so worried about him that now you play off somebody else, and then Grimes starts going crazy.
Yeah, and that's, and he kind of felt it here a little bit because we had David on Sasser, and he did a great job because at that point when we played him, Sasser was their leading scorer and had been on a tear. David did a good job of guarding him. Grimes got free a little bit in the first half, but it was really it's probably a tie game at halftime if Giroux doesn't take over.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those guys that will kind of wait in the wings, but when the time comes and when it's needed, he's more than capable of carrying that team.
You lost the game 82-65, but you shot 43% for the game, which not many people do against Houston.
Well, if you look at it, the 65 points that we scored at that point was the second most points in league scored against Houston. So there was some positives there. But if you give up 82 points against them, you're not going to win the game.
Right.
So we're going to have to be much better defensively.
Down the road, you've got Memphis also. That will be senior day here, which I can't believe I'm even saying that.
Yeah.
Feels like the season just started. We say that all the time. But, again, you took a large chunk out of the middle. That was a game that you played on the 29th up there, 29th of December. Lost 58-57. Caleb Murphy had 20. You had a chance to win the game. You had a big lead, and then you had a chance to win on the last shot.
Yeah, and what you have to do in that game is you have to take care of the ball, because there's a lot of possessions. You're not going to be able to run stuff because they're half-court trapping and erratic trapping, which is their system and style, so they're comfortable with it. It's hard to simulate in practice. It's hard to tell the guys this is where the traps are coming from. So you have to make some plays. Our best playmaker in those situations is Caleb right now. We got to be able to make some shots. David didn't play as well as he's capable of playing. Lex didn't play in that game. So our offensive rebounding wasn't as good as it could be. So in that game, it's about defending, taking care of the glass, and taking care of the basketball.
Yeah, I kept thinking during that game, and you've said it time and again, and it came into play again that night in Memphis, was you get up 12 or 13 on them, it's the worst possible lead to have because they ramp it up, get chaotic, speed you up. Why don't you just get the lead of about 7 or 8 and keep it that way the rest of the night?
6 or 7 the whole game.
Yeah,
that would be
just
good.
Win it like that.
I would take it.
All right, well, that's coming up, and that'll be senior day, Coach. There's a lot of things to think about because guys have an extra year to play. We don't know what senior day is going to look like, but it's still senior day. It's still special.
Yeah, and we'll go through it as if it's, there's no difference.
Right.
Those guys deserve that, and we'll address all those issues when the season's over, which I think everybody is doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is the last thing these guys need on their mind in addition to everything else is what are they going to do next year? Let's just get them through today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think everybody throughout the country is kind of going about that.
You can add that to the list of things John Janowski has to work on during the course of the season as well. Senior day falls on his watch.
No doubt.
As well.
No
Coach,
doubt.
thank you. Always a pleasure. Sit down, and good luck in these games coming up.
You got it. Thanks, Jim.
All right, that's Bulls head coach Brian Gregory. We will continue on with John Janowski on The Brian Gregory Show. Welcome back to The Brian Gregory Show. Jim Lighthall, joined now by Director of Operations John Janowski. And, usually by this time of year, you and I have had a bunch of meals together. We've sat next to each other on airplanes. We haven't done any of that this year because it's been kind of a wild, wild year. I appreciate you sitting down with us, though.
No problem. Happy to be here.
John is from Fayetteville, New York. I don't know how much time you've spent on Beard Pond there. Did you play a little hockey there, ice skate on there?
Never did play hockey or ice skate, actually. I was always in the gym playing basketball during the winter months there, but definitely it was definitely used for hockey for a lot of guys.
No doubt. A little suburb there of the Syracuse area, but to play indoors is smart in that part of the world for sure. John's in his first year here at USF as the Director of Operations. He graduated from Pittsburgh. You have a master's from Marshall, and you've had stops all over the place. So, you're at Stanford and UAB, and then I can rattle off Duquesne and all these different places. But now you're here at the University of South Florida, and I don't know if people realize this, the connections that you have. Have you looked back on this and see how many connections you have to USF in your career?
Yeah, so I've been lucky. I started out at Pitt. I was a student manager for 4 years at Pitt from 2000 to 2004, and really just got lucky. I was actually playing pickup in the rec center, and Ben Howland was in his second year at Pitt, and they needed practice players, so they were just having to look in the rec center and ask guys to come and try out, and I did. And they got a couple guys eligible, so I became a manager, and it was the best experience ever in terms of coaching and being around that type of program. So my 4 years at Pitt, the NIT the first year, but then 3 straight Sweet 16 appearances from 01 to 04, including a 2003 Big East Championship win over UConn. So I had a great experience there. 3 years under Ben Howland, and then 1 under Jamie Dixon. So that kind of started my coaching career, and I have been all over the country. For the most part, stayed within the Pitt family in the beginning. And that's kind of how I got to know Tom Harrion. I was an assistant at D2 Indiana, PA for another former Pitt assistant, Joe Lombardi. Got to know Tom over the years, and then when he got the head job at Marshall, I left Duquesne and joined him down there at Marshall. So I actually didn't know Coach Gregory at all, but I've always followed Tom's career and saw what they were building down here, and it was an exciting opportunity to join them here this last summer.
Well, you were at Virginia Tech as well when Seth Greenberg was there. Seth, of course, was the head coach here for a long time, and then last but certainly not least, working at UAB. Well, Jay DeBramo, the sports information director, was at UAB.
Yes. So I've known Jay since the UAB days there, and actually helped him a little bit to get in the mix here for when he got the SID job. So I was happy to do that, and it's great to be working with him again. And then, so I worked at Virginia Tech for Seth Greenberg for 1 year, and that was actually a relationship that Tom Harrion had set me up with. So obviously former USF coach there. And then I'm also really good friends with Orlando Antigua because he's a Pitt guy. So I've known him a long time, and also a former head coach here as well. So yeah, it's a small world kind of in the basketball community once you break it down a little bit.
I know a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know, but you got to know a lot to do your job. So when you looked at this job and you know Tom Harrion, but what was so attractive about coming here and leaving your current situation in Stanford?
Yeah, so actually it was at Mississippi State last year.
That's
so,
right. Yeah.
I did 3 years at Stanford for Jared Haas. So I was previously at UAB for Jared, and that was a staff that was made up of some guys that were with me at Virginia Tech. So that was a little bit outside of the Pitt family there, but great experience with Jared. He did an incredible job at UAB. They won a tournament game over Iowa State, and then he was able to parlay that into the Stanford job. And 3 years at Stanford, we made the NIT one of my years there, and then I had an opportunity to join Ben Howland at Mississippi State. Obviously, he was my original mentor, and I'm really close to him, and it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. So I had a great year there last year, because of the pandemic and the SEC tournament shutting down, obviously with everything that happened after that. We were in good spot. We finished 4th in the SEC. We had the double bye. We were excited to play. We were playing open up with Florida, who we'd beaten in the regular season at 3rd place, and then we would have had a chance to play Kentucky there in the semifinals. So we were right on the bubble, and it was exciting time. So kind of disappointed we never got to see that through fruition, but great experience there last year. Coach Holland, I love him to death. He'll do anything for me, and I can't thank him enough for that. But the opportunity opened here, and Coach Harrion reached out to see if I'd be interested. I have family in the area, actually, just about all of my dad's side of the family, and now my mom lives down there as well. Live in Venice, Florida, so about an hour away. So opportunity was too nice to pass up here.
I'm not saying this to suck up, but I've said this all along in all my years doing this. I think the ops job is the toughest job on the staff. You have so many things going on, and I can't even imagine all the balls that you're juggling in the air this year.
So yeah, it's a little different this year, obviously with the COVID and all the protocols and policies we have in place here and have to adhere to. So, I work a ton with Greg Bird, our athletic trainer, on the day-to-day stuff, on what we need to do testing-wise, and it varies even from city to city. Just coming from Philadelphia was probably the most strict on restrictions in terms of, they had no fans at all. We had to have guys. We had to do almost the NBA type thing there the other day and have a first bus, second bus with guys that had to test day of game, which was the first time we had to do that, and then the rest of us coming on another bus later on there. So it changes in each city, what you're allowed to do meeting-wise and even food-wise from buffets, things you don't think about, how many, can they serve themselves, can they not, to-go boxes, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been different. Even here at home, we've had to change protocols within the year. Our normal post-practice training table meal has gone from, a buffet where they can feed themselves and take to-go boxes to they have to have an individualized box that they take with them back to their apartments now. So even small stuff like that has changed, and you just kind of got to be flexible and go with it.
You had a schedule put together that was really, really impressive in the non-conference, and then poof, it's pretty much gone. That's one of your many, many hats that you wear.
So yeah, when I got the job, that was one of the positives. We had the multi-team event in Fort Myers with Wisconsin. We were going to open with Wisconsin and then play either Colorado or Butler. And that was going to be, the easy bus trip and getting 2 quality, high major teams there. So when we didn't know the NCAA actually pushed the start date back to November 25th, we lost some games at Boston College, at Auburn, So we lost some quality games there, and then later on we found out we were going to lose LSU, and we scrambled to get Wofford there in the neutral game in Atlanta. So once the MTE folded in Fort Myers, we were trying to get as quality a schedule as we could. So luckily we had some connections. Coach Harrion actually had some connections that got us into the Bracketville and Mohegan, and we were able to get 2 quality teams in Rhode Island and Virginia Tech. And then even on a day-to-day basis up there in the bubble, we didn't know if we were going to play a third game or not. There were games available, and luckily we were able to get Florida Gulf Coast at home. So we ended up only playing the 2 there and came back and got a home game, I think, on that Tuesday. So the schedule's been flexible this whole time. Obviously the games that we lost on our 32-day pause, we knew we had to make some of those games up or try to make up as many up as possible. So I've been in contact with all those teams, trying to see what fits their dates, what fits our dates, and then kind of go from there with that. Just quick, I think we've touched on it earlier, but with this Temple series, we looked at their schedule. They're actually playing at UCF this Saturday. So we looked at them and said, hey, how about Tuesday the 23rd? We go up and play you guys in Philly, and then you guys return the game to us on the 25th that Thursday, and then they would go straight to UCF. So that was the plan originally for a little while, and then they were going to have a 4th game. They were supposed to play Memphis on Sunday at the time, so we kind of put it on the back burner a little bit because they were going to have 4 games that week and didn't want to do it. And then I was on the bus on the way to UCF last week. Coach Mapp called from Temple and said that their game was off with Memphis on Sunday. So we got the ball rolling again on that Tuesday-Thursday deal. And then actually at halftime of our game with UCF, I got a text from Marquita, our administrator, saying that our SMU game was off. So then that kind of got the ball rolling on everything else for what happened here with this home and home.
Yeah, I think that the 2 hours of a game is the easiest part of your week because everything else is going on. And like you said, it starts in the preseason by putting the schedule together. Coming up here in the next couple weeks, you got Senior Day. You got to go to Fort Worth, Texas for the AAC Championship, possible postseason after that. If there's a bus late, it's your fault. If there's a plane late, it's your fault. If there's a meal that's not hot or ready, it's your fault. I mean, it just seems like everything falls on you. How do you keep all this going at one time and keep your sanity?
Yeah, it's been definitely a challenge this year. Even last night we got off the plane and our game, I don't even know if this is out yet, but our game time for Houston is now moved to noon instead of 3. So that changes everything in terms of pregame meals and shoot-arounds, and we're still working on getting the plane to come a little bit earlier to take us back there. But luckily we were planning on going on Friday. So we will be there Friday night in Houston, able to practice on the game floor Saturday before our girls are playing there actually Saturday afternoon, and then we'll play at noon Central Time on Sunday. But yeah, there's been a lot of changes there. You just got to be flexible, and working with Jim Baxter on the women's side, the Yingling Center, they've all been great in helping us, get through this.
John Janowski, the new director of operations. Now, we don't often do this. We don't usually take questions in this segment, but we're going to do one today. This actually came from this comes to you from Fowler Avenue, and the question was, what is it like to root for the worst franchise in baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates?
So I grew up a Pirates fan, even though I'm from upstate New York. My dad was a big Pirates fan, and I grew up watching them there. And then, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and our video guy actually at the time for Pitt basketball is now the video guy for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he's been there maybe the last 15 years or so. So one of my good friends is he's the guy that they kind of, they call down if they want to challenge a call. So I've been a Pirate fan since then. We had a couple years there where we made the playoffs, but it's definitely been a struggle, and I think it's going to continue this year, unfortunately.
I think this probably came from a Cardinals fan. That's just my hunch. We'll see. John, good. Welcome aboard. Hope you stay here for a long, long time, and hope everything goes well for you the rest of the year. I'm going to try not to bother you because I know how busy you are, but we appreciate you giving us about 10 minutes or so.
No problem. Thank you.
John Janowski, Director of Operations. Xavier Castaneda will be coming up next as the Brian Gregory Show continues. And welcome back to the Brian Gregory Show. Jim Lighthall along with Xavier Castaneda. Good to see the point guard out of Chicago, Illinois. Hey, thanks for stopping by and doing this. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Man, well, it's been a while since we've sat down with the headsets on. It's good to catch up with you again. We're keeping our social distance on and off the floor, it seems like all the time. First of all, let me say congratulations on the season thus far. I mean, you're having a really nice year. You're getting a ton of minutes. You're really shooting the ball well. And you're coming off a great performance at Temple the other day.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. My teammates put me in the position to succeed, getting the open spots and just playing hard. So I'm thankful for that.
18 points on the road against Temple in a win. Let's go through your bio just a little bit for folks that might not know. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Whitney Young High School. It's a basketball powerhouse. You had a state championship there as well. You turn 21 next month. You got a birthday coming up. What are you going to do on your 21st birthday?
I'm not sure yet. So we'll play it by ear, I guess. Probably be hanging with some of the teammates.
Okay.
Things like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably playing in the NCAA tournament pretty deep on around March 26th or so, don't you think? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, I know academics is very important to you. You're a business marketing major, I believe. Honor roll all through high school. Where does all that come from for you? It's awfully important to you, obviously.
It's just a standard that my parents uphold in our household. You know, I had to come home with good grades. C's weren't allowed, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just been natural, to be honest.
It's tough as a student athlete to balance your time. I always think that's the most impressive thing about playing a sport is keeping your academics up and finding time for all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because in addition to that, you got to take care of your body, food, things like that. So it could definitely take up the whole day. So you just got to time management is definitely a key component.
Let's go back to the start of the year for you. I know there was a lot of things going on and off the floor for everybody at this university. For you were a little nicked up at the very start of the year, but it seems like you're 100% healthy now.
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, I was a little nicked up, but now I'm fine. So.
As the season wears on, you talked about taking care of your body. I know you typically diet during the season. Are you doing that again this year? And what does that diet usually entail?
The diet usually entails as little junk food as possible. Usually a lot of water, like a gallon a day.
Okay.
And that's about it. Just no sweets and stuff like that. So.
You're a big junk food guy normally?
Usually, yeah, usually.
What's your passion?
I like gummies, you know. What else? I like Twix, so got to lay off those.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. They've done a good job with you in the weight room as well. Your muscle is up, your body fat is down, but that's hard work, isn't it, to do all that?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we over the off season, I was with Travis, our strength coach at the time. So, and I was just in there trying to get my body right for the upcoming season.
Upcoming season's always a grind. Let's go back to you coming out of high school in Chicago. How does a kid in Chicago end up in sunny Tampa?
For me, it was I just wanted a new start. I just wanted to be around people I didn't know and just get a feel for everything and basically nothing given to me. You know, I wanted to start over and work for everything.
Brian Gregory is a Chicago guy. Did that resonate with you during recruiting?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, my relationship with Coach BG at the time was very good, especially Coach Herring. So that played a big part, especially him being from the Chicagoland area. It played a big part in my recruitment.
Take me back to a couple of years ago when we go to DePaul to play in the CBI championship. I think half the city was there to see you and to see the Bulls clinch the title there.
Yeah. A bunch of people, a bunch of family members, friends, things like that, they came out to support. So I was happy we were able to get that CBI championship win that time.
It was really, really cool to be in your hometown and to see the people that were cheering for you. I mean, it was seriously, the building was about split in half for you and half for DePaul.
Yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate that.
You look a little different than you've looked the last couple of years. You cut your hair. What's going on with the hair?
Yeah, I mean, I was just letting it grow. I got bored, so I mean, I decided to cut it off, get a little clean cut, you know.
Okay.
Got the clean cut now, so.
Is this what the pandemic does for you? You start looking in the mirror a little bit more often and say it's got to come off?
I mean, during the pandemic, I was letting it go. So
okay.
After the pandemic and everything, I decided to get it shaped up a little bit.
Talking with Xavier Castaneda on the Brian Gregory Show today, and you're a pretty diverse guy. When I look at your interests, boxing is one, ping pong is one. I mean, tell me where those two things come from. Those are two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, boxing's actually always been in my life. Since most of my family members on my Mexican side, we always get together and watch different fights every weekend or every other weekend, and that's just been a part of me growing up. And ping pong became a part of me in high school. You know, during our off lunch periods or stuff like that, we would go play ping pong and stuff like that. So
okay.
it was definitely fun.
Now, see, I can relate to the ping pong 7th grade middle school champion. I don't know if you want a piece of this, really.
Oh, that's tough. I don't know.
But you have no one to play with on the team, right? Is that the deal? Like, no one really plays, so you don't get to sharpen your skills.
Yeah, nobody on the team. Well, there's a couple people like Lucci. We got some of the managers.
Okay.
Yeah, we go down, in the apartment complex we stay in. They got a little ping pong table, so we go down there sometimes and play.
Good way to
Have
blow
some
off a
good
little
matches.
steam, probably?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about music? I know you like to put a little music together, too.
Yeah. We definitely, the whole team puts in music, usually during the off season, just to, just a fun thing other than basketball during the off season.
Could you see yourself doing this down the line at all, or is it just a fun thing for you?
Oh no, it's just a fun thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you live with? Who do you hang with all the time when you have an extra day off, which is very rare right now. I
Right.
get that.
We all stay together, the whole team.
Hmm.
In my apartment complex, I usually hang with Mike, Caleb, Jameer, so JB. I mean, everybody usually, because we all stay together, so we all just hang together.
I saw that you voted for the first time in your life. Tell me
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. How was that?
It was a cool experience, being able to do that and have that opportunity is definitely great. I'm thankful for, Coach Dixon taking me down there and teaching me the ropes kind of.
Yeah, it's a process that you'll do for the rest of your life, but
Yeah.
was it what you expected it to be?
I'd been around my grandma growing up when she'd gone and did her thing there, so I was kind of used to it. So it wasn't a big change for me. It was different reading everything.
Mm-hmm. I know you're a big sports fan in general. You like the Bears, you like the Blackhawks, you
Yeah.
like the Bulls, obviously from Chicago, but you're a White Sox fan too. You're not a
yeah.
Cub guy.
No.
You
yeah.
go against the grain a little bit.
No, yeah, definitely. I'm definitely a White Sox fan. I was there in the parade in 2005. Me and my dad on top of, I think, a police car at the time. So yeah, I've been a Sox fan my whole life.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. As we finish up looking at the season a little bit, I know your three-point shooting is way up this year. You're about 10 to 12 points higher than you've been really in your entire career. Was that something you focused on in the off season and worked on?
Yeah, I mean, I've been focusing on it every season. Just trying to become better every season, and it's starting to pay off, I guess. So I'm real thankful for that.
You're one of the older guys on this team now. It feels like you just got here. Does it feel like that to you? And then the other question is, how much teaching are you doing on a daily basis? You got a true freshman playing with you at the point guard spot.
Yeah, it's definitely a good experience. Having Caleb younger than me, kind of teaching him some stuff and seeing what he can do. Definitely, it doesn't feel like I'm a veteran already, but I am in age, so it's definitely it's cool. It's a cool experience.
Do you know how many games you've played here off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
I think you've played 82 games already here.
Oh, okay, that's a lot.
It does go pretty fast,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's gone by quick.
This
Gone
year-
by quick.
This
Definitely.
year has gone fast, too. I
Yeah.
mean, you missed 7 games, and it's a large chunk out of your season
Yeah,
as well. So.
Definitely.
Well, listen, I appreciate you stopping by. We love watching you on the floor, as always. You always have that calming influence on everybody, your teammates, your coaching staff. It's kind of like, I got this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Xavier Castaneda, the junior out of Chicago, Illinois. That's going to do it for our show this week. Brian Gregory Show will return as the Bulls get ready to finish out the regular season and get ready for the AAC Championship. Thanks for joining us.